Spirituality is everywhere to be found. It unfolds with the petals of a rose and gurgles in the song of a creek, and in the canyons, and running through the forest. This is the experience animism is built from. It is the belief in spirit. It does not distinguish from the spiritual and the material. Instead, they are one and the same.
Alright, so here goes. What animism is, why I'm an animist. Now, if you go back to the root of human history, well, first you have to understand what animism is. Animism is the belief that everything in the natural world is spiritual. Everything is sacred and governed by spirits. Not gods, that's paganism. Spirits. There's a difference between the two. A god is something you worship. A spirit is something that you can't see. Now, a lot of people are confused by what spirit means, and that's where the real problem with animism lies. Animism comes from the Latin word anima, which is where we get the word in English animate, animation, animated, you know. It's basically what the soul is. Anima translates into spirit, breath, soul. There's a lot of, just about any culture you come across, just besides industrial cultures of course, has some word similar to anima, like Soera in Comanche Indians, Chi in Chinese, Kai in Japanese, so on and so on. They all reference something to the effect of a soul, a spirit, breath. And the reason why breath is tied into spirit is because of the way they view the spirit. You know, see, in the West we have this weird concept where we see the soul as somehow detached from our actual bodies, and the only role of the soul is so that whenever you die, the soul leaves. That's the only thing that it does, is the soul, you're here, then you die, and the soul goes away. And we don't know what happens whenever it goes. We just know that it can go one place or another. And we believe that only humans have these souls. Because the part in Genesis where Jehovah gave Adam the breath of life and a soul, he was giving him it's the same definition as any other culture. He's giving him the breath of life and a soul. So, we believe that only humans have a soul because of this. But from an atheist perspective, or from an animist perspective, that's ridiculous, because we're no different than the natural world. We're made up of the natural world. There's nothing special about humans. There's no, elements in the human specifically that separates us from everything else that gives us a soul. You break us down to the most basic level, genetically, biologically, elementally, chemically, whatever you want to go. The only thing that separates us from animals, we have a slightly more complex brain and an opposable thumb. That's it. Nothing else. We're just an animal. We are just a part of the natural world, the world we live in. So, if there's nothing that separates us from the natural world, what is it that gives us a soul and not the animals? What is it that gives us a soul and not the rocks that we came from? What is it that gives us a soul and not the sun who animates us, And this is something that both atheists and animists believe in, is that there's nothing special about humans. So, where does this idea that humans have a soul come from? Well, from the ancient perspective, from the tribal perspective, from the animist perspective, that is, they would tell you that what the soul is life. That's why they have the breath of life, the chi, the kai, the soera, the anima. That is what gives you life, what generates life. That's why everything was sacred to them, because the air you breathe was giving you life. The food you eat was giving you life. The water you drink was giving you life. Everything around you was giving you life. So everything was spirit, because everything was life. So the air that we're all standing in and breathing, that was a spirit. That was not just, it was an invisible force that gave you life. The water, same thing. We don't really think of in our culture the way the soul works, because we've been kind of programmed out of it, but the way the ancients would describe it, rather, was that you're made up of the physical environment. You're just 80% water, some minerals, bind it together, proteins, and then they grow and grow and grow and assemble into this human structure. So we have this human structure here, bonded together from all these natural elements, and then at one point we eventually die, and then they just separate. Alright, but whenever they separate, you're not dead. I mean, your memories, your personality, your life force, the force holding you together, yeah, that's gone, but part of you is still in the environment, because you were made of the environment. So, there's still an element, the soul, the residue, I guess you could say, vibrations of your life in that area, on this planet. And that's what the spirit is. That's what the soul is. That's what the animists believe in. That everything around you is a soul, is a spirit, is alive. No matter what, anything natural, that is. Rocks, rivers, animals, plants, doesn't matter. It's all a part of you, literally, a part of you, inside you and outside of you. You're just an extension of that. It's not that you take from the land and make yourself, it's that you are the land making you. The land produces you, just like a plant. That's basically what it is. So whenever you die, you're still there, you're just in a more diluted form, I guess you could say. You're not gone. You're not dead. You're just moved.
Animism are religious beliefs and practices centering on the notion that spirits or souls inhabit and animate all natural phenomena. This soul or spirit is usually represented as a quasi-material force and not a completely separate immaterial reality. It is often linked with breath, shadow, image, or blood. Its primary function is to animate the body, but it is also thought of as the seat of personality and character. Although animism says that anything and everything in the world can and do have such spirits or souls, the greatest concern is the force that animates humans and links us together even after death. Spirits of dead ancestors are of great importance since they can help or hinder the living. In many cultures, prayers and sacrifices to the ancestors is common. This is not worship, but rather a way to link the living and the dead together in a functioning community.